Afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our afternoon sessions, which are country presentations during our inaugural Caribbean AgTech Investment Summit. Our event will go from the 5th of October to the 7th of October. I have the pleasure of welcoming for the Jamaica presentation, which will happen now, Minister Audley Shaw. Welcome, Minister. Thank you very much for joining us. And there is a capable team as well with the Minister. Beginning at 2 o'clock, we will have another presentation for the Turks and Caicos Islands. And there we will have the Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands making a presentation. I'm going to hand over now for the Jamaica presentation to the capable hands of the President of JAMPRO, Ms. Diane Edwards. She will introduce her team. But just to let you know that Diane is the president, as I said, of Jamaica Promotions Corporation, which is the National Investment and Export Promotion Agency. Diane possesses a wealth of knowledge and experience in international marketing, in business development. She is committed to developing and advancing Jamaica's brand. Under her leadership, JAMPRO has facilitated approximately $2 billion in investments and 1.3 billion in export sales, creating about 51,000 jobs. That's absolutely remarkable. JAMPRO has led JAMPRO in terms of a transformational development and has served as a catalyst for wealth creation through increased customer focus and more effective marketing communications programs. And she has promoted a culture of innovation to facilitate and support the development of new industries in Jamaica, such as shared services, medical tourism, and cannabis. I'm going to hand over now to Diane, who will introduce her team and manage this panel session, introducing investment opportunities in the AgTech sector in Jamaica. Over to you, Diane.
Yeah, the first thing is to unmute. So thanks so much, Suzette, for that very kind introduction. And big shout out and congratulations to Suzette and her team for putting on this inaugural Caribbean AgTech Summit. We're really thrilled and pleased to be here this afternoon because this is a topic that Suzette knows I'm really passionate about. Let me first acknowledge Mr. Deodat Maharaj, who is the Executive Director of Caribbean Export Development Agency, for his foresight in supporting CAIPA and our colleagues in CAIPA in putting on this summit today, as well as Annette Mark, who is the President of CAIPA currently, Mr. Vassal Stewart, who is the President of Caribbean Agribusiness Association, one of our sponsors, and Collie ACP, Mr. Jeremy Knops, who is a General Delegate who addressed us this morning, as well as Dr. Patrick Antoine, Head of the Interim Secretariat of the Caribbean Private Sector. And so thrilled to see that the private sector in the Caribbean is really heeding the call. So welcome to all potential investors, all friends of Caribbean agriculture, and of course, a very special welcome to our Honorable Minister, Audley Shaw, who is a son of the soil, if I might say so, Minister, having had a rural background, but right now has a massive portfolio in Jamaica of industry, investment, commerce, agriculture, and fisheries. And we're going to hear from Minister Shaw in just a minute. But we're really excited to be talking about the theme today of Jamaica building a high-tech agricultural industry. And before we get into agriculture, I just wanted people to know that what happened this morning was the publication of the Standard & Poor's revised outlook for Jamaica from negative to stable. And that's a really powerful, ringing endorsement of Jamaica's macroeconomic policy, part of which was spearheaded by Minister Shaw when he was Minister of Finance. S&P also affirmed the government of Jamaica's B+ long-term foreign and local currency sovereign credit ratings and a B for short-term foreign and local currency sovereign credit ratings. So B+ long-term, B short-term. And they said, S&P, that the revision was due to its view that Jamaica's economic recovery will strengthen and that government finances will return to surplus this year. I think that's such a huge endorsement, and that's just such powerful confidence in what Jamaica has been able to achieve despite COVID. So this session that we're going into now is really going to provide an overview of the new dynamism that we're seeing in the Jamaican agricultural landscape, how we are using technology to transform our farming business models in the face of the adverse effects of climate change to ensure food and nutritional security for the country and some investment prospects for the investors who are joining us today. So I really have a fantastic and exciting panel, varied panel to talk to you today. First of all, we're going to hear from Honorable Minister Shaw, who is Minister, as I said, of a massive portfolio of industry, investment, commerce, agriculture, and fisheries. And then we will hear from 3 members of our panel, who are all private sector people doing exciting things in agribusiness. But I'm going to allow the minister to address us and do his presentation first, and then I will introduce the panel. So over to you, Minister Shaw, for you to share your presentation on the agribusiness sector and what's happening in Jamaica. Thank you. Minister?
Thank you. Thank you very much, President Edwards, or President Dan, which one you prefer? Anyway, all protocols observed, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me start off by saying how pleased I am to be here this afternoon and to be sharing my thoughts on why now is the right time to leverage the opportunities for doing business in agriculture, particularly given the trends towards technology in the sector. You know, it is said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, which means a video is worth thousands of words. And I think it starts to show you some of the many opportunities in Jamaica. So let's start with a video. What's happening?
Of course, because we're talking high tech, we're going to have technical challenges, right? That's Murphy at work. Here we go.
Think you know Jamaica? We are agribusiness. Now you know Jamaica. Do Business Jamaica.
So ladies and gentlemen, Jamaica is your agribusiness location of choice. And why Jamaica? Well, Jamaica's value proposition as the ideal location for agricultural and agribusiness related investment is predicated on our ideal microclimates, nurture tropical crops and those suited to cooler climates, producing world-class produce like pineapples, yams, hot peppers, sweet potatoes, Irish potato, ginger, vegetables. There are also aquaculture opportunities. There are vast arable lands in Jamaica, roughly 41% of the total land area of 442,000 hectares of land zoned by agriculture, perfect for contract farming and the cultivation. In terms of value added and niche markets for functional foods, nutraceuticals, seasonings, condiments, spices, preferential market access. Jamaica's exports benefit from preferential market access to several countries across the world. Market availability through the increasing demand for high quality Jamaican produce in European, North American, and Caribbean markets, and the demand from our local tourist industry. You know, as I go on to speak, I mean, just pause here to say that just this morning, a company sent me a photograph of them shipping off 900 cases of Jamaican-made ginger wine, made from Jamaican ginger, being shipped off to a neighboring Caribbean country. Back to the script. Agriculture in Jamaica is a key economic earner, accounting for almost 8% of the country's gross domestic product in 2019. During 2020, there were 697,795 tons of non-traditional crops produced, representing a 1.7% growth over 2019, despite a global pandemic. Some key highlights include 27% growth in Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee, 22% growth in pineapples. Also during 2020, the industry recorded US $207 million in food exports, representing 12% growth over 2019. Some key highlights include 24% growth in yam export earnings. And of course, Manchester Northeast produces a lot of that yam. That's where I'm a member of parliament. 14% growth in baked products earnings, value added, of course. Jamaica's tourism sector is a key demand driver with an estimated total quantity of monthly demand of approximately 5.66 million pounds of agricultural products, including poultry, meat, and seafood. Pre-COVID-19 visitor arrival was approximately 4.3 million people. With the rollout of global vaccination programs, visitor arrival is improving, which was evident with our local services industry growing by 14% for the April to June 2021 period. More growth is expected with the continued recovery of the industry. Jamaica has food import bill of $900,000 US, and the Caribbean an import bill of about, well, $5 billion US. This is a ripe opportunity for import replacement, which includes the opportunity for Jamaica to export to the region. So there's a demand for Jamaican produce. As you can see from the slide, high demand is in sauces and condiments, Scotch bonnet peppers, Jamaica ginger, which I mentioned earlier, pimento, cocoa, yam, Blue Mountain coffee, just to name some of them. My ministry has developed a draft national 5-year agribusiness strategy to establish a modern, profitable agribusiness sector in Jamaica. It will also positively impact the social and economic transformation of the rural economy with relevant business models and supporting ecosystems that function to ensure the food and nutritional security for the population of Jamaica in the global context of adverse climate change. The mission is to transition Jamaica's agriculture industry from low to high tech, thus achieving a paradigm shift. Key components of the strategy include transition from low tech, high cost, small scale farming to high tech, low cost, larger scale farming. Introduction of large tropical tree orchards. Imagine we have all this idle land in Jamaica, and we can put in orchards of all different types of things. Ackee orchards, mango orchards, you name it, we can put them in. We have idle lands. Cheap energy supplied directly to benefit of agribusiness enterprises in the rural economy. And that part of that cheap energy, by the way, is what God gives us, sunlight. Agribusiness intelligence, processed from raw data gathered, used for informed decision-making. National Food Security and Agribusiness Council that facilitates public-private sector cooperation for national food security and modernizing the industry. In fact, I am happy to see my private sector co-chair for the council, Mr. Matthew Lynn, is on the panel with me today. And lastly, the draft strategy calls for an existing farming ecosystem re-engineered to be agribusiness-centric with web portal. But I want to stress that utilization of farming technologies such as hydroponics, aquaponics, mariculture, vertical farming, container, indoor farming, and commercial scale greenhouse farming. These are things we have to bring on board now. And it is of note that there is a growing market opportunity for organic products. And you know, I also need to mention that drip irrigation is another one of the things that we have to bring in, especially to our small farmers. With the use of the technology of drip irrigation, right? We have Irrigation in my parish. Irrigation does drip irrigation now and is selling it all across the Caribbean. We need to buy more of that drip irrigation for our small farmers in Jamaica to significantly increase their productivity. Employment of value chain and anchor farm business models. Expansion of agri-parks with shared services and opportunities for wider employment of global gap standards. Government's emphasis on the agribusiness sector is to trigger economic growth and development. The strategy is scheduled to be approved by Cabinet later this month and tabled in Parliament shortly thereafter so that implementation can start in earnest as soon as possible. Under the Omnibus Incentives regime, the Customs Tariff Revision Resolution is geared towards the productive sector and provides for the duty-free importation of capital equipment, raw materials, and other industry-related consumer goods under the Productive Inputs Relief Scheme. Special categories have been created for companies in the agriculture sector, along with a few other sectors. These key benefits include zero import duties on machinery, equipment, and other farm inputs, including components for greenhouse farming. Income tax relief for approved farmers. Duty concession on raw material. It is important to note that greenhouses can also benefit from the production input relief through the Jamaica Customs Agency. In addition, the government has other programs in place to support the industry, including farmers being eligible for a 20% duty concession on farm vehicles, access to technical support provided to registered farmers across the island through the government of Jamaica's Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. College of Agriculture, Science and Education graduates, skilled agronomists. Ladies and gentlemen, opportunities abound. The government of Jamaica has demarcated over 900 acres of land in Tollgate, Clarendon, for the establishment of a mango agro park. These lands were previously used for sugarcane farming. Investors are invited to lease 50-acre plots and above for planting mango trees. A demonstration plot of 60 acres has been established. Features of the Mango Agro Park include local and international certification, business planning and counseling services. The project is being managed by the Agri Investment Corporation, an agency of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Estimated investment cost is $238,000 US, and the mode of investment is public-private partnership. And let me say before I move on that the export market, especially to the United States for mangoes, was closed for quite a number of years. We reopened it a couple of years ago, and it's now a fresh area of opportunity for us to significantly expand our mango production, because there is an insatiable desire for Jamaican mangoes in the United States, in Canada, and in the United Kingdom. In terms of a special agriculture project referred to as the Jfvl agriculture project. This is a new agricultural investment project centered on the establishment of a state-of-the-art, fully integrated supply chain operation to deliver fresh fruits and vegetables to satisfy domestic demand, including demand from the tourism sector. The project involves the production, warehousing, cold storage, and multi-channel distribution service of fresh produce on the domestic market. Jfvl's business model involves the engagement of contract farmers to farm a 600-acre property under the company's direct management. A feasibility study on the project is now completed. The estimated cost, the investment cost, is US $6 million, and the mode of investment is a joint venture equity investment. We have what we call now the Land We Love Organic Greenhouse. This new investment seeks to create a certified organic high-tech greenhouse operation in Jamaica, which will be the largest by far in the region. The project will be undertaken on a 200-acre property over a 7-year period, will specialize in heritage and heirloom produce, TOV tomatoes, bell peppers, bush beans, garlic, strawberries, cucumbers, sweet corn, watermelon, and other assortments of fresh produce. The estimated cost, US $95 million, and this again, mode of investment, joint venture equity. Down at Menard Estates. The Menard Estate Farm is a cattle farm located in near Brownstone, St. Anne, Jamaica, encompassing 1,000 acres of land and housing over 400 heads of cattle. The Menard Farm became renowned through Dr. Thomas Leckey's revolutionary work in cattle genetics, highlighting Menard Estates Farm and Jamaica by extension as a significant player in the domestic and global cattle industries. The indigenous beef breeds are Jamaica Red, Jamaica Black, and Jamaica Brahman. The following investment opportunities are available at Menard Estates Farm: live animals, beef production, semen, embryo, production and transfer leather. Mode of investment, public-private partnership. Then there's the Jamaica Agri Park, climate smart agriculture. The Jamaica Agri Park is an industrial agricultural development scaling food production models for Jamaica and the Caribbean. It will be a leading global development site for climate smart agriculture production, resulting in import replacement of highly valued crops for direct distribution and export. The project will be built in the St. Thomas region of Jamaica on 200 hectares, 500 acres, and will consist of the following facilities: hydroponic greenhouses, NFT greenhouses, aquaculture and aquaponics facility, regenerative agriculture forestry model, free-range egg farm, processing and packing facility, food production center, demonstration complex, algae plant. Safe Haven Solutions and its partners will design, develop, and install a combination of climate smart food systems powered by solar energy to reduce import dependency and to promote sustainable living and organic food consumption. And ladies and gentlemen, before I end with my final words, let me also indicate to you that on my desk right now is another major investment proposal for establishing what they call agricultural domes all on some of the idle sugar lands that we have, especially in Clarendon, St. Catherine, and to a lesser extent in Trelawney. And this concept of the domes will be an extension, of course, of the greenhouse concept. And the potential for it is so incredible that I'll say to you right now, the market is not Jamaica alone. It's going to extend into a massive export market, both into the region and into developed countries by way of both fresh and processed foods. That's where we have to go to really mature and to create wealth in Jamaica. We can't sell everything fresh. We have to process a lot of it and sell it as processed food. So ladies and gentlemen, you will no doubt agree after hearing all I've said that the Jamaican agriculture industry has outgrown its age-old monoculture of producing sugar to now include a variety of crops for domestic consumption and export. There are also thriving animal husbandry and fish farming activities across the island. And these primary services contribute greatly to the country's diversified value-added food manufacturing industry. The opportunities are there for the taking. The time is now, and I invite you to take the next steps towards growing in Jamaica. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that amazing overview of the agricultural sector, its diversity, and the huge opportunities available in Jamaica. So now we're going to move on to talking to the other members of the panel, because we have a really interesting panel here with us today. Starting with Shelley Heaven, who is a finance professional and entrepreneur, currently CEO of Farm Linker, which seeks to connect buyers and farmers to bridge the communication gap and to provide consistent supply and market access to both through, and Shelley is also a founding member of the Jfvl project that the minister just outlined a while ago. We also have with us Matthew Lynn, who is CEO of CB Group Limited, which produces food, livestock, and animal feeds and crops. CB Foods concentrates on providing locally produced meats through a vertically integrated operation and partnerships with independent commercial farmers. It also has a division called the Imagination Farms, which conducts world-class research and development in areas like West Indies Sea Island cotton and Scotch bonnet peppers, among other crops. The third member of the panel is Keith Agoda, who is co-founder and CEO of Producers Market and the Jamaica Agri Park project, which Minister outlined. Keith has an extensive background in supply chain logistics and agricultural entrepreneurship as the founder of a commercial urban agriculture firm called Sky Vegetables. And he has a lot of experience in international procurement and developmental roles in global organics and veg fresh farms. Please join me in welcoming this panel, who is going to really take you the next step on the journey, following from Minister Shaw's remarks, which set the stage for how we are developing technology in agriculture today. So Matthew, starting with you, the CB Group is a virtually integrated group and has done a huge amount in terms of research and development in vegetables and a range of crops as well as livestock. So how has technology become a competitive advantage for you, and how do you see the technology landscape in Jamaica going forward?
All right, thanks, President, and good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for having me. I think let me make sure I get the question correctly and frame it, because, as all businesses, we of course use technology on a day-to-day business. But I think if we look at technology specifically to our production, meaning both the live production side and the processing, I think that's really where, I ought to concentrate. And I think our story is actually, it started many years ago, and it was out of a unfortunate situation that we ended up with a blessing in disguise. Hurricane Gilbert flattened our company. If you guys remember Hurricane Gilbert, we lost every single chicken that we were growing. We lost every farm and every square foot of chicken house. And when we decided to build back, we decided to take, a deep plunge. We invested in first world technology. We invested in what you would see as these very big tunnel ventilated houses, which is really just about controlled environments. A lot of people didn't think that it could work, didn't think that it was needed in Jamaica, but it has been probably the single best investment we've made, and it's been a game changer for us as a company. With the controlled environment, we were able to be predictable. We could predict we were much more consistent in our quality, in our quantities, and it gave us a lot better risk management in terms of knowing what our inputs and our outputs would be. So I think that, started off our journey into, investing in first world technology. And I think since then, that's 1988, if my memory is correct. What we've done is always had technology at the forefront of our minds. And so we've continuously invested, whether in our processing facilities or through our production facilities, the primary production. We've always looked to have the first world technology and try to be as close to the rest of the producing countries as possible. So anything that gives us the ability to automate, we've tried to do that. That helps us with speed and efficiency, being able to grow our volumes. And we are a big believer in the applied research and science. So we work with companies and suppliers to look at things like nutrition, to look at genetics, both on the plant side and on the livestock side, to make sure that we're always, again, at that forefront using data as the driver to make these key decisions. I would say, you asked a question about competitive advantage. And I think the question then is, who are you competing against? Are you competing against your other, local or regional, producers, processors, farmers? And I would argue that you're not. I don't certainly look at it. I don't look at our local competitors that way. I think we're much more collaborative. We need to work together, being in small countries and small islands. I think what you're competing against is the global landscape and international trade. You're really competing against the imports. And so the competitive advantage, I would say, is not so much a competitive advantage in the truest nature. You're not going to actually be cost efficient to the point where you're more economically, you're cheaper in those goods than what you'd get away. What you're going to be able to do is stay current. It's to be sustainable. I think the governments of the past have had to weigh off that is it cheap food, or am I looking for food security and jobs? And I think today that question is not just about economic sustainability, but environmental sustainability. I heard ministers talk about climate change earlier. And I think it's also about that social side, in terms of the jobs that we create and the livelihood of the people. So I think technology is the only way that we're going to be able to stay close enough to make it worth having these local industries. I think everybody, I think all governments today would much more favor having the jobs and having the local industries and, viable sectors that produce and in the local economy. So technology, big for CB Group. It's everything we believe in. It helps us to be sustainable. We look at our, I think it's part of essentially our strategy and our core values. And that's led us into what is commonly known as the NEST today, which is our large, we call it an eco-industrial park, looking at technology where we'll be able to save in terms of our waste management and save in terms of our environment footprint. Yes, we will have greater volumes and greater efficiencies, but I think the bigger thing is that the technology allows us to be better companies from a sustainable point of view. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I would say, the technology is paramount to our existence. It's about survival and sustainability, and without it, we can't have agriculture in the Caribbean. You're on mute, Diane.
Yes, sorry about that. As I was saying, it's a great answer. Thanks for that. I was asking about the contract farming, because I know you do a lot of contract farming. So how important is it to bring the small farmer into the mix so that they also have access to technology and can help you to grow?
Yeah, I think it's part of the model that has worked for us for decades now. I think there's two types of, let's say, small farmers, right? There's the contract farmers that are part of the integrated system, and then there are the independent small farmers that work on their own and they make their own market. And I think big business, which is and the corporates, we have the ability to invest in the new technology, bring in new, do the research, and bring in all the new stuff. And I think when the system is designed where you're willing to share that information, share what you're doing well, both with your integrated internal system and also your independent small farmers, then I think it has a beautiful, you develop this ecosystem of knowledge sharing, capacity building, and it works. It works. I would certainly suggest any any industry and any investor looking to go anywhere in the Caribbean, that they look at having that balance of how to work with the independent farmers and in a contractual way, because it helps with the sustainability right through the value chain.
Great stuff. And that's a nice segue into talking to Shelley now, because Shelley, you have FarmLinker, which is doing exactly what Matthew is talking about, linking small farmers, small producers with buyers. So trying to bring the whole market together and using technology to do that. So maybe you could tell us how that FarmLinker has been working and what are some of the opportunities and the challenges of operating that system.
Thank you so much, President Diane, and hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. So yes, definitely the FarmLink multi-vendor e-commerce platform is working well, and it's really a tremendous opportunity for small farmers to get themselves up and running with an online channel for the sale of their goods island-wide in just a matter of minutes. So the platform really allows each of these farmers using our platform to have their own storefront that allows them to sell their goods directly to persons using a unique URL and collect payments using international debit and credit cards. And all of this can be set up for them in a matter of minutes without needing to do any huge investment to get online. So I think that it is truly an amazing opportunity for small farmers to be a part of the conversation in terms of how technology is impacting agriculture. So think about it as an Amazon just for fresh produce, essentially. Okay. In terms of one of the biggest challenges we've had actually is in the area of logistics, and specifically that relates to having the appropriate service providers that have the network in place to provide this kind of support for the farmers, because as you can well imagine, operating a business online is quite new to a lot of them, even, our young farmers who are more tech savvy and they're online. So we need to have those logistics service providers with the network that can really take off that responsibility of the small farmers and help them to have that wider reach. So this is an area, I think, in the industry that is in need of, great investment with the appropriate technology and algorithms to truly help us to really unlock the potential that we have opened up with the platform so far.
And is this the genesis of Jfvl? Is this why you're going into a new venture? And I think talking to the investors who are online with us, they would be really interested to hear the story of this new venture and where you saw the gap in the market that you're going to be plugging with logistics.
Well, the Jfvl project, it's a part of definitely the bigger vision of transformation of the agricultural sector on the bigger business side, the corporate side, in terms of the large-scale contractual farming and the large-scale farming models, and that is a part of it. So I see we need a mixture in the market. So, the online channel is important, but we also need the direct channels that serve the large businesses and exporting that deliver consistency of produce and supply. So with that project, we're looking at working with over 800 farmers, for example, over 2,000 acres to produce and supply 10 of the most highly demanded crops in the sector. We will be having the requisite cold storage facilities that, the market significantly lacks. And very importantly, we'll be providing the extension and technical support services for these farmers that we're working with, incorporating the necessary technology so that we can have, greater outcomes. We're going to be looking at things like automation of certain facilities within the factory for the processing of the produce that goes straight to the retailer. So it is that contractual farming aspect, that getting that demand-driven production and the large-scale production going to smooth out the peaks and troughs that are so common in the sector.
Great. And it sounds like a really exciting venture building on the question of logistics and vertical integration. I think logistics is one of the big gaps in the whole agribusiness marketplace in
Yes.
Jamaica and in the Caribbean, and not only internal logistics, but external logistics. And we're really keen to move to Keith now, Keith Agoda, because Keith is a blockchain specialist and a specialist in logistics. Keith knows a lot about the Caribbean and has a really exciting project, which the minister also referred to in his presentation, which is really looking at not only vertical farming and greenhouse technology, but how blockchain and logistics is going to drive that process. So Keith, maybe you want to tell us, as a new investor coming into the market, why did you choose Jamaica? What do you think is really interesting about Jamaica, and how your project is going to really impact on the agri revolution that we're seeing now?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Diane, and thank you everyone for being here with us today. And the Honorable Minister laid out an absolutely perfect summary as to why Jamaica is one of the best places, not just in the Caribbean, but globally, to develop agribusiness. And the country is taking an ambitious and proactive approach to agriculture in a diversified model that includes both high-tech, tree crops, and looking at the best suited crops to replace imports and also scale production, not just for the domestic and regional market, but for the global market, where the brand name of Jamaica has resonance in Europe, in the United States, Canada. It is known as a brand that is of quality and known for its world-class soil and a destination. So Jamaica is an ideal place, and the way that President Diane and the Honorable Minister and other departments of Jamaica have approached agriculture make it fertile ground for investment and scaling agriculture to create a model for island nations globally. And so for us, when we look at a model here, and Shelley really has done amazing work laying out the opportunity for digital technology to connect farmers and buyers directly within one closed loop model. And when we start to add in other forms of data registration from the production information, the post-harvest information, the downstream buying information, both business and consumer buying, it allows for data to come to the surface and be organized in a way that can plug in to existing and prospective logistics partners in order to complete these cycles of post-harvest and transaction, both in a local and regional and global manner. And blockchain allows for different levels of transparency, traceability, and to be able to register this data into a system of organizing and databasing. We're able to not just look at the origins being validated and verified, but also transactions and fair payments. And now what we're working on developing and rolling out for this initial project in Jamaica are the SDG and carbon impacts, where we can also input different layers of data from sensors, IoT devices, third-party audits, lab test results, and start to look at what are the carbon impacts of production, and where that could also lead to additional revenue streams for creating carbon sinks and removing carbon from the atmosphere. And so what we're looking at doing with this AgriPark project, which is being led by Safe Haven Solutions, is to fulfill a major gap in many farming communities globally, especially we see in the Caribbean, which is the post-harvest infrastructure. That many times there aren't many options for aggregating, processing, packing into different formats, and then connecting into local, regional, and global markets with the quality assurance certifications and other requirements in order to be accepted at premium levels. To have a benevolent aggregator, that in this case is a AgriPark, in order to become a buyer or a contract manufacturer, can allow small farmers, as well as mid-sized and larger farmers, to access a state-of-the-art infrastructure in order not just to reach market, but to also do training to find input production of compost, biochar, other organic inputs, to have high quality nursery and genetic items that can be accessed in order to start their farm, alongside a scaled commercial model of the tree crop farming, which the Honorable Minister mentioned, which will be both resilient and adaptive to the impacts of climate change and hurricanes by diversifying production. And our model in St. Thomas, which will be a pilot as well as in cockpit country, will be based around coconuts as a primary crop, but also intercropped with more than 5 other commercial items, which will be grown in a regenerative manner, organic, without any chemical inputs, processed on site, but also be used as a training facility. And so in conclusion, we see that Jamaica really is the spot in the Caribbean and even globally for island nations to create models of resilience, of connecting local production, not just to consumers, but to the vibrant tourism community. Because it's not just the companies or the governments or the local people, but the visitors to the island, and the Honorable Minister mentioned 4 million plus on the slide, they also want to have access to high quality local produce, and they also want to know that they're supporting the island. So blockchain, digital technology, databasing systems, this all provides the means not just to connect together the information and the participants on the value chain, but also to provide authenticity, trust, and validation that the impacts, the information, the stories that are being shared to the local communities, to the tourist communities, expat communities, and the businesses, that it's all validated and verified and documented in a way that will incentivize more people to join this model, and also will be to help create a fertile ground for more businesses to participate in the value chains. So thank you all for being here. That is a quick summary from me, and just really excited to hear about all the progress and to participate in this revolution happening in Jamaica.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Yeah, you've given us a lot of food for thought about generation of data and how we're going to use data to really improve the outcomes and the outputs of agribusiness in the Caribbean. So we've got really 8 minutes remaining. And so I just wanted to ask, I guess all of you, starting with Matthew, a final question, which is really, how do you see the future of agribusiness in Jamaica and in the Caribbean by extension? And how do you see technology driving that so that we really create a transformation in agriculture to a more high-tech, as Minister said, and highly productive, because the productivity is one of the critical questions that we're grappling with. How do you see us emerging from this, and really what would be your message to any of the investors online? Why should they get involved? Matthew, okay. I throw that mouthful at you.
Yeah, well, and with time, I'm gonna try and go quick. So one, I'll tell you, I'm very excited about the future of agriculture. I think it's great when you have a government that's actually pro-local and pro-agriculture. So kudos to the government here. I mean, you know, we're putting our money where our mouth is. You know, we have a project where, you know, over $100 million invested in agriculture in Jamaica. So, I mean, that alone should tell you that we're believers. You know, I think the future is wrapped up in one word. To me, it's about sustainability. And I think technology is what's going to drive that sustainability and structure. So I see the future being that the consumers are going to continue to have a lot more power. They want to buy local, and they want buy quality, and they want fair trade, and they want environmental responsibility. I see a lot more controlled environment, even for our crops. So, you know, some of the projects that the minister shared, and those are fantastic projects. I'd love to come see them. So that gives us a lot of predictability on quantities and prices. I see codependent food chains. You know, I see where we're going to have to structure the industry where, you know, it's you know, like forward selling contracts in many ways. and I see the balance of big business and small business, right? So in a nutshell, my 2 minutes, sustainability, and those are the big pillars for me.
Great, thanks, Matthew. I think that's a great message to those who are listening and who want to get involved. Shelley, what's your message to those who want to get involved with agribusiness, and what do you see as a future for this space in the Caribbean?
I see a very bright future for agriculture, where we not only awaken, but also unlock the potential of what I believe to be a sleeping gold mine for Jamaica and the wider Caribbean region. So I think I see a lot of large-scale farming models that include increased mechanization and use of technology for integrated systems and operations with more predictable and controlled outcomes, increase in the take-up and the amount of contractual farming models that we'll have. I also see a lot more climate smart and climate controlled protected agriculture, especially for certain leafy green vegetables and exotic fruits. All in all, a vibrant sector doing a lot of the things that have eluded us for decades before now. So I would say to the investors here that now is the time to get involved, and certainly agri-tech and food security is definitely a winner at this time.
Great, and Keith?
Yes, my final thought is pretty short and sweet, and I believe agriculture will become a celebrated, sought after, and dignified profession that offers both economic stability and a great lifestyle to farmers. So whatever happens in the future, people will need to eat, and all the trends are towards more healthy and more fresh and more local lifestyle.
Great. This has been such a fantastic panel, because from Minister and from all of you, we're hearing the same message, and it's the message that really underpins the agribusiness strategy developed by Jfvl in collaboration with the Ministry of Industry, Investment, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, that long name, because we all share the same vision of really healthier food security, and technology underpinning a really productive, vibrant agribusiness sector, which now can attract young people. And I think that's one of the most exciting things. Minister, did you want to say a last word in the 3 minutes remaining?
Our last word, just to say, thanks to my colleagues who shared on this panel, and to you at Jfvl. And we have had the crisis of declining sugar industry in Jamaica. We have had the crisis of the pandemic. But guess what? In every crisis, there's an opportunity, and literally a seed of greater benefit. And what do we have? We have the appropriate climatic conditions. We have idle lands. We have idle hands. We have the capacity to produce year-round. We can embrace technology of solar power, of the various technologies we've spoken about, and bring in everybody, and guess what? Target the world and create wealth. Let's go.
Fantastic. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. You heard it from the minister himself, and he knows the rural situation intimately. You've heard from Matthew Lynn of CB Group and Imagination Farms. You've heard from Shelley Hebden of Farm Linker and Jfvl Project, and you've heard from Keith Agoda, co-founder of Producers Market and the Jamaica Agri Park Venture. So I think it's been a really exciting panel. You've all hit so many high notes of where we see agriculture going. It's been an honor and a pleasure to host you all. And I'm going to turn back to Suzette, because she's hovering over me in the minute remaining, so that you can move on to the next country panel. So thank you all for participating. Those of you who were in the chat or had a question, please do send me any questions or send them through Suzette. I'll type my name in the chat so that anyone can contact me with any questions that you may have. And have a great rest of conference, everyone. Over to you, Suzette.